Hey there, my friends. How's everybody doing today? Well, today's topic is a little bit off the beaten path. I sometimes talk about music, and this is kind of a self-gratification video, I guess, because I'm talking about how much I love music. But at the same time, it's somewhat to inspire other people to realize how important music is in the lives of not just musicians, but people who listen to it, which is most of us, even though I have met some people who hate music or don't listen to it, and that's weird to me, but I decided I would make this video in my recording corner here, which I kind of reset up again. I removed the stuff and put it back. I go back and forth. Any other musician out there probably knows how that feels. When I was younger, say about 14, 15, I got into bass guitar. And the reason I started playing bass was because all my friends wanted to play guitar. And I started playing acoustic, or tried to play guitar, and I've got big fingers. You know, I'm 6'3". I've got very thick fingers, long fingers. And when I played guitar, it sounded muffled and strange. So I thought, well, it must be my fingers, not me. So I decided to get a bass while everybody else played guitar. Long story short, I played in a band when I was a kid just for fun, and then gradually I continued to play bass through the years, but still played guitar on the side, and gradually realized that it wasn't my fingers, it was method. Learning how to play. And the patience it takes to learn how to play is difficult. I'm not a great guitarist by any means, but I used to sit for hours and hours on end every day playing old Crosby, Stills, Nash & Young, Cat Stevens, Jimi Hendrix, anything that I could learn. Led Zeppelin was one. It's funny because I just looked over and I saw the Guitar Superstar series, Led Zeppelin tablature. Is this bass or guitar? No, that's guitar. I think I bought that for my oldest son, who was 25. And this kid is an amazing guitarist. At 25 years old, he totally blows me away with the quality of his solos. And he's really into electric. It's loud. It's always been loud. He started off by playing AC/DC when he was a kid, which is funny because actually I had an AC/DC 8-track here just a minute ago that I was going to use as a prop, but now I can't find it. Oh, here it is. AC/DC Highway to Hell on 8-track cassette. And I just found it when I was digging through boxes, and I'm like, you know, these are like collector's items now, of course, but you go back and tape is still a really high quality method of listening. So anyhow, when I was a kid, I recorded onto cassette tapes, and I dreamed of having a 4-track recorder. And only the kids who had enough money could afford recording units. So we were recording onto tape, then playing that tape and playing over it in the room and recording onto another tape. And by the time you got to like the 4th or 5th tape, you end up with this really crappy version of things. And then look what we have now. You know, I bought this for my son about 8 years ago, maybe. It's a Boss BR1180 8-track recorder. Phenomenal tool. And today, most musicians record on GarageBand or some sort of a, whatever it might be, Ableton. You can use a variety of different methods for recording onto a computer. But I still love the old school, separate hard drive in a little unit, a plug in, record, adjust your levels, and do everything manually. For me, that's a better feel, and I'll get into that. There's a certain feeling that goes along with the pushing of knobs and buttons, okay? We are button pushers. So before I go on, I wanted to get this out of the way. This is, as I was talking about my oldest son, he's a guitarist, and he's a great guitarist, and I remember when he used to play heavy metal, and then he got it. Now, he can play just about anything. But the other day, he came home the day after my birthday, and he goes, "Oh, here, Papa, this is for you." I couldn't believe it. I'm still blown away, and I don't know how to accept gifts like this because it was just totally unexpected. But he bought me an Ibanez 12-string guitar, and he knows I've been shopping for a 12-string forever, but I'm not rich by any means, so I'm very frugal when it comes to shopping. And I'm looking and checking out Craigslist and other places. And he went straight down to Guitar Center and bought me one with a payment plan. I was just like, man, you know, thank you. You know, what do you do? But having a 12 string is something that lends a whole new sound. It's not just the sound itself, but when you get a new instrument, it inspires you to want to play. And it's not perfectly in tune. I should probably tune it up before I jam on it. And the thing about a 12 string is, when you're picking, I mean, there's a million songs that you'll recognize when you play a 12 string, but picking is totally different than finger picking, right? So because not just the softness of your fingers on the strings, but the fact that each pair of strings, it's actually a pair, and the smaller string is before the bigger string. So when you're strumming, you're hitting the lighter string, but when you're finger picking, you're not always hitting the lighter string, and it's a totally different method of playing. And this is an electric acoustic, so I can record it onto my 8-track, and I've been recording a lot of little background songs and stuff for my videos, but this is the point. All my life, I've wanted to record an album. And when I was younger, it was fruitless. It was pointless because it was so difficult to record, to have the equipment to record, that I thought, one day I'll have all these things, I'll be able to make the music I want. I played in a band with my brother, First in Line, which I've uploaded, it's on YouTube, back in about 2006, 7, 8, whatever it was. And then I couldn't do punk rock anymore, so I told him, hey, if you want to do like a jam band, if you ever do something like that, let me know. A couple of years later, he contacted me, said, hey, we want to do this other band, and we called it Related Material, which eventually changed to Time to Spare because he didn't like the name anymore. And anyhow, we wrote a lot of songs. I uploaded at least, I think we did 2 albums that were, I would consider albums, where we took the time. Weren't perfectly recorded, and we did a First in Line album in the studio, and then 2 Time to Spare albums in the studio, or in our studio. But we only did 1 real album in an actual studio, and that was our First in Line punk band. And if anybody wants to hear it, I'll direct you to it. But it was very raw, and my brother couldn't sing, I couldn't play. No, we all sucked, okay? We were young, in our 20s. And then we got into the jam band thing, and we started writing. My brother writes phenomenal songs. First off, my brother is a great musician, and as brothers, there's always this sibling kind of awkwardness, but I try to tell him as much as I can, I love your guitar playing. But he also says the same thing to me. He loves my bass playing, and he's had other bass players come into his band, and I think he's a little reluctant to we're humans, we're awkward. But he's told me straight out, your bass playing is unique, and I like it, and I think it matches my guitar playing, which makes sense because we grew up together, and we also, neither one of us took lessons. And I'm only going to say this briefly. If you take lessons, it's phenomenal, because you can learn a lot of musical theory, understand how to read music. It's great. I tried it for a while. It didn't work for me. I thought that if I teach myself, then I'll have a unique approach to playing music that's different than other people, and that was the case. It can also corner you into being stuck in one thing, but also studying music can get you cornered and thinking that music has to be a certain way and structured a certain way. And we've seen that music can be anything you want it to be. So if anything, I'm trying to inspire other people, to play music as well, because I want to record my first album. I'm 44 years old now. And I've dreamed of this my whole life, and now I think I'm finally ready. I mean, I've got so much equipment to do it if I wanted to. It's just a matter of getting the inspiration. I've got my 12-string. I've got my other acoustic here, which I've played before. I have some songs I've written pretty poorly on YouTube in the past, whether it was against Monsanto or about the Kratom ban or whatever. And they're out there. And this guitar, it's a Washburn Oscar Schmidt, which I bought back in, I think, 95, something like that. It's almost 25 years old. And it was my first acoustic guitar, and it still sounds phenomenal. But you have limits to what you can do with one guitar, you know. So I feel more inspired now. I also bought this a while back, and this is an LTD, or an ESP Sunburst electric guitar, and then I've got my bass over there. It's just nothing fancy. And then I've got my Samick bass over here and another one. We added them up the other day, and we've got like 10 guitars in the house. So it's like, we might as well play music, you know. So I guess I'm only making this to just maybe inspire other people, but also inspire myself. To if I see this again, to be like, dude, get your ass in gear and make the music. I've got my keyboards over here, which I cannot play keyboard. I suck. But I learned to play a few chords, and I had, you know, this system of, okay, I can add this to my music. We've got a little pile drum machine right here, which I think is great. I mean, these are really fun to play. My friend ordered 2 of them online last Christmas for his kids, or he ordered 1 for his kids, and 2 came. So he's like, "Hey, you want one?" So yeah, this is just my equipment, my thoughts on music. I've got my reel-to-reel over here, which is funny because, you know, that shit's foreign to most younger kids, and but the reel-to-reel tapes are phenomenal. They still sound great. About 10 years ago, when we had band practice here in my garage, I actually set up my SM58 microphone here, which is the Shure microphone, which is the kind of the all-around vocal standard. Set that up as a room mic and recorded onto this reel-to-reel and put our band practice on tape. And it sounded ridiculous at the time, but now I have it, and it sounds so crisp and clear. I'm not going to get into how computers and MP3s and files modify and adjust and analog to digital and so on and so forth, but like these Scotch recording tapes used to be the prime. I picked this up somewhere and it says Good Jazz on it, but what it actually has is Miles Davis Bitches Brew in full analog quality. So yeah, you could buy the record instead, and these days you can, you know, you could use a lossless file or something, but they did make these albums in this. This is Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass, and the last one I want to share. This is what inspired me to like reel-to-reel tape recorders. My dad had this when he died. I remember him telling me about it. He brought it back from Vietnam, and it's fully filled out on the back with the AFVN radio station, which was the radio for Vietnam soldiers back in the late 60s. So this says top 20 plus top female, male, and group 1950 or 19. Wait, what is that? 35? No, that's weird. Oh, 1955 to 1968 from AFVN radio, July 5th, 1969. So this is like right in the heart of the Vietnam War, and this was recorded directly at base by my dad and his people. I thought, how awesome. So I'm sure you're wondering what the set list is, so I'll read it off. The first one is called Took the Sweetness by Connie Francis. Then we have Elvis with Hard-Headed Woman and Don't Be Cruel. We have Beatles with Wanna Hold Your Hand, Can't Buy Me Love. We have Dion and Belmont's Teenagers in Love. We have Roy Orbison with Pretty Woman, Ray Charles with What I Say, Fats Domino, Blueberry Hill, Beatles, Hey Jude, Platters, Great Pretender, Elvis, Heartbreak Hotel, and by the way, these are counting down to number 1. Teddy Bells or something, To Know Him Is to Love Him. Number 12, we're at now, The Temptations, My Girl. 11, Big Bopper, Chantilly Lace. 4 Seasons, Sherry Baby. Paul Anka, Diana. Penguins, Earth Angel. It's a great song. Buddy Holly, Peggy Sue. Bill Haley, Rock Around the Clock. Tokens, The Lion Sleeps Tonight. Number 4, Animals, House of the Rising Sun. Phenomenal Vietnam song. I always associate it, with those times. Number 3, Association. I just said Associate, and the next song's called, yeah. The band is Association. The song is Cherish. Number 2, Doors, Light My Fire. And number 1, Rolling Stones, I Can't Get No Satisfaction. Then it says, Sgt. Pepper's Show to End. So, yeah, if you're curious as to how it really looks, probably won't be able to see it anyway. So I just wanted to share some of my thoughts on those things, because that's what I do. And I've got my turntable over here. I didn't even get into the record aspect, but I really love old music. I love that vintage feel and the ability to record your thoughts, your ideas, and especially your music onto a format that endures for time. I don't know how many songs I've lost on a hard drive, but I rarely lose them on a tape. So I guess it's one of those trade-offs, with the modern recording methods. I still have Ableton software on my computer because I use it with my Launchpad Mini, which is, you've probably seen these with DJs and stuff. They've got like a bunch of little buttons on them, and you can program them hooked through your USB to your computer to each be a different drum set, or unfortunately most of the ones you see are a bunch of dudes hitting a few buttons and all these lights are lighting up and they look like they're playing the whole song all at once, which really is just a bunch of pre-programmed buttons. It's like a drum machine, if you will. And all these things I wish I had when I was younger, but I do now, so I got to make the most of them. So thanks for listening, and let me know what you think. Let me know what you think about music and recording music. If you're a musician who has been wanting to record something, do it, I know that I probably won't get my first album that I've wanted to get out for my whole life, because I've been kind of modest about it. Like, oh, well, I haven't earned the, good enough quality of guitar playing to do this. I'm not buying into that anymore. I know I can write songs if I do it. I've just got to buckle down. The biggest obstacle for me is time, because it's hard to dedicate that kind of time to something not knowing the results. But it's like an art project. You never know what it's going to end up like until you're done. So hopefully if I do finish my album, some of you will help support me and maybe buy one. And no matter how bad it is, you'll go, yay! No, I'm totally kidding. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for listening, and to my ramble about music, and I'll talk to you later. Peace.